Hey, Chamber members, Alan Waters here, your Director of Marketing and Communications at the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce. And I am joined today by...
Seriously, dude?
What?
You said this was a Halloween episode. Like, we were going to dress Halloween. We're going to dress up.
I said it was Halloween-y. Mold is scary. I mean, it was coming out near Halloween.
I had a whole thing. I was going to...
It's me, Alan.
All right. Well, okay.
That was a really quick change. I like that. You look nice.
Well, hey, thanks, man. I
Welcome.
appreciate it.
So who am I meeting with today?
So Zac with Green Home Solutions.
Zac with Green Home Solutions. Zac, I'm going to ask you the same question I ask absolutely everybody. What does success mean to you?
Success means leaving the world better than you found it.
Okay, so I think that's a very open-ended thing. And I know we talked about this earlier in the year as well when we talked about success. So how do you leave something better than you find it? And who is the judge of that?
Well, ideally, you have a strong moral compass, and that's kind of guiding you in what it is that you are improving and how it is that you're leaving things better. Your world can be whatever you define it to be, either setting your family up for success and setting them up to be excellent people. You can expand it out to your community and just make sure that you are doing good things within your community, treating others with respect, treating others well. Or it can be something ultimately global where you are doing something large enough where you're making a positive impact worldwide. As long as you are taking steps to leave whatever corner of the world that you want better than you found it, then I think that is something that can define you as being successful.
Mm-hmm. And I know we talked about this a little bit last time too, but to reiterate, how does Green Home Solutions fit into that? How does Green Home Solutions leave the world better than they found it?
Well, mold is an unfortunate thing that happens to a lot of people in their homes. It can have any number of ill effects, either just from decreasing their property values all the way up to having disastrous health effects on them. We go in and get rid of the mold and leave their home in better shape physically, but also people who are having health concerns, allergies, toxicity concerns, leaving their health in a lot better shape than when we first went in.
And how do people know about those pieces? I mean, I feel like everybody can look at mold and go, oh, that's mold, but not everyone knows where to look. Because, I mean, yeah, on that piece of bread that is been left on the counter for 2 weeks, yeah, that's mold. I know that. But yeah. Where am I not looking? Like, what am I not doing? What are some of those signs that people can be on the lookout for?
Well, I would start, of course, by checking air vents and looking at those. That's often a place where mold will start to grow. If you are able to get into your basement or crawl space, going down and looking up is always something that you can do to take a look at things. If a space is not adequately dehumidified, then mold is very likely to start growing. And so if you have a basement or crawl space where you're not running a dehumidifier, I can almost certainly say go down there and take a look up, and you will probably see something springing up on your floor joists. You can also use your nose as a guide. If you're having kind of that strong smell that we associate with basements, either in your crawl space or basement, or even worse, elsewhere in your home, that's often an indicator that you do have a mold issue coming up.
And it's not the same for everybody, right? Like, some people will live with molds, never know, never hurt them, never make any adjustments. Others, it can pop up and all of a sudden it's game over.
Yep. And it's, my wife is allergic to cats. I can be in a room with 100 cats and be unbothered. Perhaps be in heaven even, but she would be left wheezing and not feeling so hot. And it can be a similar thing with mold. People have a physical allergy to mold. They're going to just kind of feel crummy all the time. But a lot of the people that don't think they have an issue because they feel the same that they felt for years don't realize that the reason they wake up tired every day, the reason that they seem to always have a runny nose, is because of a mold issue that they've been living with, but they feel like that's normal because that's just how they've been living for 15, 20 years. And they just feel like, oh, well, this is just aging.
Now I'm kind of starting to second guess like everything I've thought about, like, am I actually old, or am I 30 and got mold somewhere? All right. So I want to address the fact that, like, recently with Hurricane Helene coming through, one, it's devastated some people beyond repair, but there's also a piece of that those even that had a relatively safe, calm hurricane may still have issues, because I've heard from mortgage industry, real estate agents, a lot of companies are out constantly doing stuff now. What kind of things should people be on the lookout, especially after a natural disaster, that they may not look at normally? Is there anything that may have happened that wouldn't happen on a normal day-to-day basis that, like, now could be a big problem?
Well, all mold really needs to grow is about 58% humidity and any organic material to grow on. So if you had any even minor water intrusion, if it was not dried up completely and quickly, that could be enough for the spores, which are everywhere, to have time and a place to take root and then start to grow, whether it's in baseboards in a finished basement, drywall in a finished basement, dust which has settled into the carpet of a finished basement, or the overall humidity just being raised by the fact that there's moisture in a basement or crawl space that, again, is going to start growing on those floor joists. So even if you only had a tiny bit of water get in, where your gutters were just overwhelmed by the sheer amount of rain that came through and started overflowing and dumping right next to the foundation, and so that led water to come in where you've never had an issue before, all it really takes is 58% humidity and anything organic to start to grow in, and you could potentially have a pretty significant mold issue coming up. And I will say, the earlier you catch it, the better. So if you did have even a small intrusion, I would, once a week or so, go and just take a look. Look at baseboard, drywall, cabinetry, floor joists, whatever, and also keep a nose on it. Because if your basement didn't smell like a basement, but now it does, I have a pretty good idea of what's going on.
And why is it important to talk to Green Home Solutions about that versus someone else in this particular instance? Is there a reason that you should come out first, or you should come out in conjunction with someone?
Whoever you call, for starters, needs to be a certified mold inspector, not just somebody who you call out to look at a particular problem and the solution is going to be, okay, well, let's take that wall out and put a new wall in. Let's pull that baseboard, spray some bleach and put a new baseboard on, or something like that. Make sure you have somebody who is specifically certified for mold. One, because it's now a Virginia state requirement. People selling mold remediation are required to have an IICRC certification that was signed into law earlier this year and went into effect July 1st. So for starters, you should have somebody at least IICRC certified come and take a look. We hold a certification that's ACAC, which is above and beyond that baseline certification. It goes beyond a construction level and more into an indoor air quality level of certification. But having somebody who is knowledgeable about mold, where it comes from, what the most likely causes are, somebody who can go out and take a look at the side of your house and say, there's potentially an issue inside based on what I'm seeing from the gutter to the siding to the foundation. Really just somebody who knows what it is that they're looking at and aren't called in just to look at one specific issue. The more knowledge somebody has on the subject, the more they can catch as they're doing their inspection and not potentially miss something that then continues to grow and is a much worse issue down the line.
And so I know with what you do as well, and really what Green Home Solutions does, across the country, I don't know how far y'all spread what you do. There are so many people that will get on Facebook, everything Christiansburg, everything Blacksburg, and I see a lot of, hey, I'm on down times, I can come do duct cleaning, I can do duct work, I can do those things. What's the difference between someone like that coming into your house and Green Home Solutions coming to your house?
So in terms of duct cleaning, that is unfortunately a pretty prevalent online scam. And the more of them you'll see, the better you'll get at kind of recognizing the tropes. I posted before about duct cleaning, fire emoji, smoke emoji. Like I don't know. They all kind of have this same vapid, I don't know, language, and they always include emojis for some reason. So having a reputable company out, like Green Home Solutions, that has a physical location in the valley and that you could go and visit if you wanted to, is always going to be a much safer bet than just some random person that you are finding on one of these Facebook groups. They're moving into all sorts of different things. I saw one where they're starting to talk about chimney sweep services, and it's the same formula. I posted about chimney sweep, fire emoji, fire. It's, I don't, just keep an eye out.
And how do we know it's that and not someone using ChatGPT? How do we know it's a scam? Like, what are some of those pieces that, because I guess what I'm asking at this point is, when someone's looking for some services, when someone's looking for duct cleaning, when someone's looking at air quality, I feel like that's something that they have to put trust in y'all. And I think when you start getting that trust level, it can be hard for people, especially when I've heard you say it. I think you said it last time on the show. You don't want repeat customers, and a lot of your customers don't necessarily want to give a referral with their name attached to it for that fear. So like, how do you make sure on your side you're being transparent with people, you're being open, you're keeping that communication flowing through your networking, through your marketing, through those pieces?
Well, that's one of the things that is actually really that I really appreciate about us as a company is we're not afraid to go into somewhere and say, no, you don't actually really need us all that much. We'd be happy to do something if you'd like, but really you're good. And there aren't, I view that as a sign of a solid company that would be good to do business with if they are willing to say, no, you actually don't need us. You might need this, this, and this. I know people and I can send them your way. Ultimately, when you are paying any amount of money for a service in your home, do whatever research you can to determine whether or not that company is, for starters, real. Do they have a physical location? Is the person posting on Facebook an actual person? Often you can go and look on their profile and start to kind of scroll down and see that it's clearly they've stolen pictures from somebody else and created a different name. And if their job title is self-employed or, something like that, but then they don't actually have the name of their company anywhere, they just say, yeah, I'm doing duct cleaning or I'm doing chimney sweeping or whatever that might be. It's just, if you're putting your trust and your money into a company, it is important that they are going to be an actual company and somebody that has done other work in the area and that you could potentially find Google reviews for or something along those lines.
Yeah, because someone could come in and and I'm not saying that they aren't necessarily going to come do the job. You might pay them and they may never come do the job, But if someone comes out and they do the job and they're not insured, they're not licensed, you're the one on the hook, and your insurance company may not cover those things. Insurance covering mold is
it's dicey at best.
Yeah. So why also looking at that with you versus some other companies? Is it important that you're having those conversations? Because I know you said you can save some things where others can't. Is there a certain point where you're like, we can't save this. This is what you need to do. When do you reach those points? I mean, I would be so terrified to walk into a house where you're like, we can't save you from this mold.
But it's so I want to touch back on the making a problem and having insurance, making a problem worse than having insurance bit of things. As for the duct cleaning side of things that we do, if we show up to a home to clean HVAC ducts and we see mold on the unit, around the unit, in one of the registers, we are not going to clean that ductwork. Not because we can't handle mold. It's because we know enough about mold to understand that if we just blast through and do the job, we could be taking a problem which is potentially confined to the HVAC system and just blasting it through the rest of the house and then making a much worse issue later. And if you do have a company who does that, one, how are you going to prove it? And two, if they are not insured specifically for mold, there's not really much recourse that you have for that. Now to go to the things that we are able to save and are not able to save, it's never a case of we are incapable of making this home mold free. It's more like this cabinet is too water damaged to be worth saving. It's not the mold part that really poses our limitations for being able to save something. It's if something else is going on. Usually it's going to be drywall that's just so far gone from the water damage that even if we were to remediate the mold growing in the drywall, it would not really be worth our time to do that because the drywall itself is just shot from the water damage that happened. We do offer tear out services as part of a mold remediation if something is not able to be saved. We are not contractors, so we do not do putback services. So we have contacts. We can absolutely get people in touch with who can put up new drywall, who can put up new baseboard and install a new cabinet or whatever. But that's not work that we would do ourselves in-house.
Right. All right. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, I want to talk a little bit more about the networking piece, but also the referral piece, because I find it interesting when you're in a situation where you would need to be referrals, but you've got people that might not want to say, hey, it's me.
Green Home Solutions is an indoor air quality company that uses natural enzyme-based products to remediate mold and odors and to improve the quality of the air inside homes and businesses. Certified indoor air quality experts can inspect for mold and odors free of charge. Unlike traditional remediation companies, their services generally last a single day and involve little to no demolition. Inspections and advice are always free. At Green Home Solutions, they make air better. Call today to find out how at 540-759-3348 or go to greenhomesolutions.com. Back to the episode.
All right, we're back. So it's me. I'm the problem. So when someone is talking with you and looking at referrals and you've come in to do this, first, tell me a little bit about the struggle of what you have when you're getting those client testimonies, those pieces, because I know that can be tricky on that side no matter what you do, but in your line of work, even more so.
I find that there is an undue level of shame often associated with a mold issue. And I mean, I don't blame people. It's something that I probably would have been sensitive to myself before I got into this industry and kind of learned how it actually springs up. A lot of people feel like if they have mold growth in their home, that's something to be ashamed of because somehow they have failed. But a mold issue in a home is very seldom because somebody was just an entirely unsanitary, unclean person. The spores are everywhere, right? and all it needs to grow is that 58% humidity. So it can be as simple as I have a basement and did not run a dehumidifier. That's why I have a mold issue. I had a slow plumbing leak that I did not identify for several months because why would I see it? It's inside the wall. And now I have a mold issue. So there is that level of shame that people feel. And so they don't want to outwardly say, hey, my house was moldy and now it's been taken care of. I notice if I'm set up at like a wonderful event like the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce Small Business Expo, I messed up the exact name of it, but it's a fine event and you should come.
You mean the one on Wednesday, November 6th at the Inn at Virginia Tech and Skelton Conference Center? That is, in just a few short weeks.
Absolutely, that would be the one.
The Buy Local Business Expo. Great.
That's the name. And if I am set up at an event, at a fine event like that, I will have people that so I have signage up and it says ductwork cleaning and it says mold and odor on the two separate signs. And if somebody walks up to me enthusiastically, well, I can tell by their body language, they're going to ask me about duct cleaning. And if somebody kind of shuffles up sheepishly, I can kind of tell I'm about to get a question about mold. So they'll be like, hey, I think I have a, and so there is that level of shame, and it's not something to really be ashamed about in general. It's usually going to be something that just kind of didn't dehumidify a space, didn't run the bathroom fan enough. It's not that you're just a slob and should be ashamed of how you've been living.
Right. I mean, I think in the same with referrals, it's a lot of, you can't know this until you know it. And so like nobody knows that the mold experts that are out there until they have a mold problem. Sometimes they don't even know until well after they've got one. But also I've had mold pop up because it had been years since the shower had been used and there was air under the caulk in the tub, and now it's been water and dry. And so it happens. It's not got anything to do, well, it probably doesn't have anything to do with you. I mean, if you're like walking into the living room and pouring a bottle of water on the carpet every day, maybe let's talk about why that's the case.
Yeah, I know.
So outside of that, like working with realtors, working with some of that, where are ways and points in the home buying process and all of that where you could be useful? Because I know it used to be a market where no one's getting an inspection, no one's getting anything done. That's changed some. So how would you work well with other industries and other chamber members and things like that where they know how to reach out to you?
So I would say for starters, if you're a listing agent for real estate, if you see something, it's probably best to have us out before the home is even on the market. It's much better for us to find something and get it taken care of before it's listed than it is for the home inspector to find it. If you are in any trade at all, I know a lot of trades, they have, mold's a 4-letter word. We don't say it. It's not mold until someone identifies it. It's not mold until it's tested. They have all these little phrases where basically they try to sweep mold under the rug so that it's not their problem. There are so many things that you can do just by jostling around a duct or cutting out a wall that has mold in it, where if you're not taking appropriate mold protocols, you can take an issue, which again is confined, and spread it throughout the home and make it much worse. So I would advise anybody in those fields where if you do see something that you feel like could be mold, it is okay to give us a call, send us some pictures. We'll come out and take a look for you, because ultimately we want to protect the health of your customers, but we also want to protect the health of you and your employees. And mold is really nasty stuff, and we don't want people to be exposed to it if at all possible. Any other line of work, just if you're encountering it, or if you hear somebody mentioning, I had some water come in, or my water heater burst, or this or that, just think about where there's water, where there's humidity, there will eventually be mold. And the earlier something can be caught, the better off everyone's going to be.
Right. When you come out, I want to talk a little bit about that, but when you're coming out and you're doing, it's not, of course, always, I don't know if it ever is Zach from Green Home doing the inspections, but like when that happens, when you've got the consultation, it's free for someone to come out and look at those things, right?
Absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit about that process too? Is there because I know some people that won't drive to a house without knowing, all right, great, this part is paid for.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a reason that you do the free consultations? What's the mindset behind that?
A lot of it is there's a barrier to entry for a lot of people, often associated with that shame, where they're not going to want to, pay to have somebody out just to show them something that they're ashamed of. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times, just by removing that particular barrier to entry, removing that cost barrier, allows people who would not normally have us out to make the decision to have us out. But one of the reasons that we like to do the free inspections is ultimately we want people to have good air quality, and we want people to have peace of mind about their air quality. And even if we come out and give them a clean bill of health, even though they were worried about something, we have still done our jobs and we have done a service for them. Mm-hmm. And hopefully just having done a good job for somebody that they are thrilled with and happy with, regardless of whether or not we actually were hired to do any work for them. Mm-hmm. That's one of those leave the world a better place than you found it type things. You do right by somebody, they're going to tell somebody else if it comes up in their lives.
Yeah, I mean, I can give a personal shout out to say that, y'all came out, you looked at a mold issue that we had in our bathroom, and ultimately we decided not to move forward with y'all doing any of the remediation, and that was because we're gutting the entire room and changing and renovating. It wasn't anything to do with services to pieces. It was more on our side. We went, all right, well, I know that this is a problem. What are our solutions to fix it? And then we went forward. No one came back and was like, well, now you owe me $120. Mm-hmm. And so I really commend you for that. I also want to commend you for that approach of leaving the world a better place than you found it. I think when networking and those pieces too can be seen, last year at the Buy Local Expo, we do giveaways. We're doing that again this year. But you specifically said when y'all go to these things, you like to go to other booths, buy something from them, and do that as part of your giveaway. Tell me why that is.
In the spirit of the event, we are looking to buy local, right? And so part of the giveaway that we're doing, we want to show support to the other businesses that are chamber members, because I personally really believe in the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce and the work that y'all are doing and the work that y'all do, not just to grow the company that I work for, but to grow the business scene in general throughout Montgomery County. And so just the spirit of that event really lent itself to why not do a giveaway, which is also supporting other people that are there at the expo.
Yeah. And to talk about a similar event, so we recently had the Speed Networking Social. Tell me, really, with your job and how you do things, why is the networking piece so important to your success in your marketing?
I will say that this community in particular, and Roanoke as well, are very much word of mouth communities. Mm-hmm. And who do you know that has done something that you can personally recommend? In this area, people are far more likely to trust the word of their next door neighbor or somebody at their church or something like that than they are to go on Yelp reviews or something along those lines. And so the more present we, in particular as a small business without an unlimited advertising budget, the more that we can just be present in the community, showing support for other businesses at their ribbon cuttings, and just in general being seen and visible and helpful, the more people are going to be familiar with us as a company and feel comfortable calling us themselves and then also passing others our way. I feel like that community aspect is so incredibly important, and it's something that is unfortunately lost on a lot of the smaller businesses in the area. They're so focused on the business of doing business that they're not necessarily viewing what the benefits could be of attending the ribbon cuttings, of attending business after hours, and being present in the community and meeting those referral sources.
Right. I mean, it's a big part, I think, with small business, and particularly those that are solopreneur businesses. You've got only so much time in the day, and it's the same time that anybody else has. But when you've got someone that can be the one doing, and I'm going to use my wife as an example because it's just what I know. When you've got someone who can do all of the editing, all of those pieces, and someone who can go out and be making those connections, fantastic. When it's one person or a small team, it's much harder to do that. But I appreciate the fact that there's value in making sure you find what works for you. It's not going to be the same for every company or every industry, or even the same two different companies in the same industry. You just have to find your lane, and
yep, absolutely.
There's growing pains for it. But so tell everyone where they can get in touch with you, where they can find out more information about Green Home Solutions, and give all of that information. And before you do, I'm going to give a shout out to the fact that Green Home Solutions is one of our 2024 Green Business of the Year nominees for the annual awards. So tell us more about 2024 annual award nominee Green Home Solutions.
So, as we've discussed throughout, we are an indoor air quality company with a focus on mold remediation, odor remediation, ductwork cleaning. We have environmental probiotics, indoor air purifiers, all kinds of wonderful, wonderful services. The things that make us green is not just the fact that our products that are disinfectant is enzyme based, as opposed to being like a harsh chemical like a bleach or similar. But it's also the fact that we are able to save those construction materials. We can save cabinetry, drywall. We can even save possessions like couches, mattresses, clothing. And so a mold remediation from Green Home Solutions is not unnecessarily filling landfills with construction goods that could continue to be in their place, and then also, taking new construction materials, so new drywall, new baseboard, new structure, whatever. So that's ultimately the green mission of what it is that we do. It's not just natural products, but it's also the things that we are able to save and avoid throwing into landfills. If you do feel as though you are having an indoor air quality issue, in particular a mold issue in wake of the storms that rolled through, maybe you didn't get things quite as dried out as you had hoped. You had to DIY your own water extraction with a shop vac and some towels and some prayers. And now you're kind of starting to get those musty, basement-y type smells. Give us a call. You can reach me directly at 540-759-3348, and that'll be you can call or text that number, and I can chat with you, see what's going on, and see if you would be interested in having one of those free visual inspections, and then we can take things from there. That same number would also be useful if you would like to have some ductwork cleaning done.
Awesome. Any final thoughts you want to leave people with?
Just do what you can to leave your world better than you found it, however it is that you define your world. Be helpful, be kind, be excellent, and especially as we're coming up upon this election, just be kind and respectful towards one another, and remember that you do still have to see your neighbor tomorrow, whether or not you agree on everything. So let's just all strive to be kind to one another.
Well, to make up for our little slip up earlier for our Halloween-y vibes, what if all right, let me try this. All right, costume change. Once again, everybody, it's me, Alan Waters, your marketing and director of communications. Oh man, I messed up that all kinds of ways. And then joined with me today was
Zac with Green Home Solutions.
Thank you, Zac with Green Home Solutions. If you missed our costume change, please make sure that you watch this on YouTube. Thank you, Chamber members, for listening. We appreciate having you here. We'll see you next week. In the meantime, make sure you go out, invest, connect, engage, and prosper.